There is many things that I have never experienced in my life. I have never eaten in a 5-star restaurant. I have never gone skydiving. I have never felt the loving caress of a 6-foot goth mummy. And most importantly, I have never experienced a good Street Fighter 6 patch.
This is fucking horrendous. Personally, I've never quite seen anything that fucking bad.
It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
I have played this game for like a year now, on and off, and I have always wondered to myself, why do I die when Ken touches me? Why does Ryu's crouching medium kick have the range of Steph Curry in Game 7 of the NBA Finals?
Decide not to use it, Curry! Way downtown! Bang!
Why do I die for blocking my fans like a regular human being? The more I play this game, the more I wonder to myself, why are none of these things changing? Well, the answer is very simple. The Street Fighter 6 dev team is the world's first all-autistic team in video game history. If you do not have autism, you cannot work on this team, and the more disabilities you have, the higher rank you actually get on this team. The leading dev of this team is quite literally autistic Thanos. It's honestly inspiring to see how devs who work in wheelchairs and neck braces were able to create a game at all, so it makes sense why this game never gets big patches, because God couldn't patch these devs' chromosomes. But in all seriousness, this latest Street Fighter 6 patch is seriously the biggest patch that I have ever seen for this game, and funnily enough, it buffed the character that I mained, Sagat, because Sagat is an incredibly honest character that needed buffs. He actually did. We definitely don't need to look at Chun-Li or anything. Let's just add more meat to her thighs and give her a boob animation with Manon or some shit, I don't know. Or, as the devs would say, now, this isn't necessarily a Street Fighter 6 video, this is more so a video on why the hell our games never get patched, and when we do get patches, it's either the 17th unintentional behavior on Devil Jin, or it's my getting nothing burger nerfs that the my players sit in a little circle jerk, with their waifu posters on the walls rubbing their hands and giggling at the patch notes that just removed one of her 500 options at the corner. The way that fighting games are now, I don't think it's really feasible to have a game that doesn't at the very least adjust characters a couple of times a year just to keep the meta fresh at the very least. Back in the day, you could drop a game and that would be it. The game would never get patched, and that was kind of good because it gives players a lot of time to figure out tech and other weird counters, stuff that would be impossible if the game kept on changing. One of the main things about fighting games that people initially found so fun was finding these niche counters and answers to situations that initially looked really bad and figuring out something that works. It's even more hype when you pull off what you personally discovered successfully. This feeling will have you thinking you're Isaac Newton or some shit, but instead of watching that apple fall to the ground, you grabbed that shit and dunked on some Kazuya player. In fact, I remember Aris talking about how he personally doesn't like fighting games getting patched very often because he was from the arcade era where people literally just dealt with the cooked things in fighting games. But despite this, of course, not patching games also has very big downsides. For example, the obvious one, if a character is bugged, then they remain bugged. There is no patch to save you or your character. And if a character is brain dead OP, it works the same way. They stay that way, and in 2025, that is kind of unacceptable. More unacceptable than starting my new year with this garbage. Games should be and are held to a higher standard nowadays. Except they're not. Tekken 8 is one of the most overtuned games I have ever played. But I know one thing that definitely is not overtuned, and that is your ability to like, comment, and subscribe on the video. Ayo, seriously though, guys, there's this little thing called hype. You can hype my video now. Apparently that's a good thing. You're on mobile, you like go in the description, you like slide over, it's like hidden, and you hype the video. Guys, hype the video. Okay, let me just get back into the video. This is fucking embarrassing, bro. Boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. They wanted a fast game, yet what they did was simply create a product that injected literal speed into your veins every single time you boot up the game. Street Fighter 6 is dominated by Ryu. Ryu has been the main character of this franchise since before I was born. If you are not a guy who wakes up, looks into the mirror and sees normie SpongeBob, why the fuck would you still be playing Ryu in the Big 26? Seriously, who the fuck gets onto Street Fighter 6 in the Big 26 and is like, I'm gonna click Shoryukens and be mad solid and not click standing medium kick into death like ever. Nobody says that, bro. You just didn't fix your game. Drive mechanics, despite me thinking that they're not too bad. I mean, they're bad, but I still think that they are overtuned. City of the Wolves is dominated by Hotaru and a couple of other idiots that are so very clearly broken, it's actually insane. Yet, these games never get significant patches. So this begs the incredibly obvious question that has been spammed repeatedly. Why are fighting game devs gay? Let me be a bit clearer. Why don't these games get patched? The answer is pretty sad, but it's simply, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You're probably looking at your screen right now thinking, what the fuck did this faceless monkey just say to me? He just went off about how all broken all of these games are, and then he just said it ain't broken. And you would be correct, I did just do that, suck my dick. But hear me out. If you are watching this video right now, you are probably a dedicated FGC member, right? So you probably know the ins and outs of all these games and can point out why they're shit pretty easily and quickly. But the truth is, we are just a small percentage of the player base as a whole. A loud percentage, but probably still like a relatively small percentage. At least half of every game's player base, outside of like City of the Wolves or more niche fighters, are casuals, or the monkeys you play in ranked who flowcharted their way to Tekken King. The casual percentage don't really give a fuck if Maya's broken, because they don't even know what is happening on their screen, bro. They're just waiting until it's their turn, or when they think it's their turn, they click buttons, and when they get blown up into an oblivion, they message GG well played. These are the guys who make up the majority of your player count. These people playing the game show the devs, oh, people like the game, and if a game is good, why would you patch it? This is more than likely the single reason as to why throw loops are probably still a thing in Street Fighter 6. Strike throw mix is incredibly easy for a casual player to comprehend, and as long as the casuals are understanding the game, they're obviously going to play more, and if they play more, the game looks good. Ironically, Street Fighter 6 is really the only game that can really get away with this because it has a much larger player base than any other fighting game right now, and it's still technically the most balanced.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
And he is also the best performing fighter out right now. So you as a Street Fighter dev can very easily delude yourself into thinking that because the Japanese players are slobbing on your meat like a hole with an empty fridge, that means your game is good and needs very minimal changes. But for something like Tekken, your newest game, which you put all of this budget into and is barely, and I mean barely, doing better than Tekken 7 in like its 8th year, and that's just a player count, it's really not going to cut it with the fanbase. Not that the Tekken devs aren't trying to do the exact same thing as the Street Fighter devs. The truth is though, there is levels to the popularity of these games, and the numbers reflect how both of these teams kind of have the same approach to their games, but one is doing fantastic and the other is doing pretty fucking bad. The solutions to fix these games are so clear cut to me. It's so obvious that they're just intentionally not fixing these things because the game in the current state it is bringing in a certain type of player that they want to appeal to. City of the Wolves mechanically is the best fighting game out right now if you're looking for like a quote-unquote real fighting game. However, it's ruined by the fact that the top tiers in that game are so fucking ridiculous it's not even funny. But those busted characters might honestly be one of the few things keeping that game's player count over 100 right now. I know that you can't make your game perfect because if you make the perfect product, nobody is going to buy the new thing when you make the new thing. I get that. The thing is, Tekken 8 is shit. Street Fighter 6 is shit compared to Street Fighter 4 or something. Like, these games are far from perfect and still they don't do anything to make their games better. If we remove throw loops from Street Fighter 6 right now, would that or would that not be one of the best Street Fighter games? Like, seriously, you can keep all of the drive rush mechanics in the game. Just remove throw loops, or at the very least, make the ability to throw loop more scarce so like only a handful of characters can do it. I know this is so basic and obvious, but it's because the solution to fix that game is literally that simple. Things are more complicated when we talk about Tekken because the issues in that game are a lot more widespread. For Tekken to be a good game, it would need a complete overhaul because the ability to just freely 50-50 your opponent at any given time is so ingrained into every character's move pool that even if you were to butcher Heat, which needs to happen, the game would still be cooked. And even if you were just to remove every single plus frame move in the game, you would still be dealing with the fact that there is no character individuality because everyone is a stance rushdown character. It's all very lame. So I can kind of understand, not really though, why they aren't patching that game properly. One excuse that I hate so much when it comes to this topic is that the devs don't want to patch their game around the time there is a big tournament or an event. So for Tekken, that would be Tekken World Tour, and for Street Fighter, I guess that would be Capcom Cup. That is quite literally the stupidest excuse, and it is a Tekken speciality at this point. It is such an easy cop-out, because if you don't want to use your brain for more than 5 seconds, it actually makes sense. That is until you realize that pros who go to tournaments are literally paid to win. An adjustment is a big part of winning. If you cannot adjust to balance changes, why are you a pro? Not to mention, pro players account for less than 0.1% of any fighting game player base. Yet we don't want to patch our game because the 0.1% of the player base need to play each other, so one of them can win a Taco Bell coupon, bro. What are we doing here? I don't know if this is the case with other fighting games, but Tekken in particular, if the tournament isn't run by like some Saudi prince or some shit, the number one prize for winning is dead ass a packet of crisps and a pat on the back, bro. Genuinely insane shit. So why are these events the main focus for this dumbass team, bro? The real answer is they're not. They're just too pussy to drop a patch. It's really that simple. There's no way that these guys, any of these guys from any of these games, don't fear backlash for bummy patches. Street Fighter 5 was a game that was pretty bad for Street Fighter standards, and it kind of improved over time, but there was still that time for the first few years of the game's lifespan where people were just ranking on the shit. So nowadays, when the devs see that they kind of have a good thing going on, they don't really want to take any risks. But what do you guys think? Is it possible that maybe a lot of us think that a game should be patched way more than it actually is reasonable? Or is it really that these devs are just slacking for real? Because it is possible that maybe a lot of us are just Gen Z brained, where we always need stuff to be moving. Like, we could in theory have literally the perfect fighting game, perfect balance, everything, but at some point someone is going to call that shit boring. Do we just ignore those people? What do you think? And do you think that Street Fighter in particular needs a patch? I'm really talking about this game as a focal point because this game has never really had a serious update. The game is obviously different from launch, but the same issues that we have been complaining about since the beginning are all still here. The characters we complain about at the top of the tier lists are all still there, and there doesn't seem to be even the slightest sense of urgency when it comes to changing this. And to be honest with you, in a perfect world, there are characters outside of Mai and Ryu that could still do with a tweak here and there, and not really because they're like game breaking, but just for the enjoyment of the game, bro. Slight Ed tweak, it would be cool. A little Akuma tweak here and there could be cool, and a little Bison tweak, you know. In fact, fuck that, just delete Bison from existence, fam. Ain't nobody missing that character outside of Bison players and story mode circle jerkers, bro. But you know guys, I don't know, I have yapped immensely today, so I'm gonna end the video there. But if you liked the video, remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that good shit. And until next time, guys.